Yes.
No worrying, we can cut it
Well,
out.
it's because
Just
every machine. Anyway, okay.
No, I don't even use it too much, actually.
This is DJ Deadly Buda.
And
I'm
this-
here with Isaac Mao. This is for the hard data, and we're talking about Musicoin, and we're talking about the controversial subject of the day, UBI, Universal Basic Income. And the criticism out there, Isaac, is that this is a socialist program that you've instituted into cryptocurrency, and you're from Hong Kong, and all this. People are worried. What is UBI?
People worried about where we came from.
Came from in what way?
In which place?
No. Yeah, you mean from cryptocurrency or?
I came from blockchain, actually.
Uh-huh.
So, hello everyone. Like Joe said, you may never know that this Joe is very famous Joe. His name is Deadly Buda, and if you really touch music, you will definitely find his name in different places, like Wikipedia, like some other music catalogs, etc. Is that right?
Yes, true.
Absolutely. So
This is all nice, but UBI, Universal Basic Income.
it is a very interesting thing, actually, ever happened in my creative and digital life, because UBI is supposed to be a socially, politically defined concept. It's applied to trying to solve many social problems. Many political people, they are trying to advocate, and they are trying to get people's money, for example, from taxpayers' money or resources, natural resources, earnings, to give people this universal basic money, and to encourage the consumption and try to uplift people's economic activities. So basically the idea is, if it works, we don't really know so many UBI works in different places, in many places actually. It only shows some power in some small area experiments. Yeah, so we actually don't know how much it could work in the real world, because the real world economy, let's say the traditional economy, actually they strongly depends on who contribute the money to the UBI scheme. If someone wants to apply it to their country or region or different cities, etc. So the universal basic income have two problems in traditional settings. One is, what's the basic income? You need to define what's the basic income. Can you define the basic income the same to people living with luxury life? What's their basic income? Or middle class? Or poor people? What's the basic income? Is internet the part of the basic income? I mean the connectivity of the internet.
Right. Okay, I see your point.
Yeah. So,
But in Musicoin, though, so Musicoin is trying to pay musicians or artists that make music.
yep.
So how does a universal basic income come into play there? Like, what's the basic income in Musicoin?
So
when
I think about the Musicoin's UBI scheme back to 6 months ago, roughly, one Musicoin project started to genesis the blockchain. We start without UBI scheme at the beginning. It doesn't mean that we didn't think about that. We actually think about that, but we try to use the blockchain to test whether this concept of Musicoin work or not. So it's the first step. When UBI is still in my mind, we already start the blockchain, and then we apply UBI later in the hard fork. We call it Music 2.0, right?
Right.
So the basic income definition in Musicoin's UBI is actually trying to define based on how industry owe to the musicians around the world.
Mm-hmm.
What's the standard? Which is based on how industry pay musicians today. The highest pay in the streaming services, which is very much the people say, hey, how I get my income from musicians. That's what we want to define as a basic baseline.
Okay, so let me, if I could cut in here. So universal basic income, as far as Musicoin was concerned, and as far as payments to musicians, was when you changed the rate of, I guess, the reward for a song being played or a track being played. Before it was one music coin. Right. But that was changed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 cents per play, kind of pegged to the U.S. Dollar, I guess. Right. And so that was the definition of the basic income.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said, because when Musicoin blockchain started, we introduced the concept of PPP, pay per play.
Right.
And it gave us a technical foundation to introduce UBI upon that. Without pay PPP, how can we, quantify, the behaviors of users? Is actually not from the traditional industry. The traditional industry definitely have a stream concept, but you have no idea how much stream really played if there's no transparency.
Right.
And how, when they pay you, when it divided into 100 million plays, and your payment you get is basically nothing. And not to mention there are discriminations of distribution.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be, it's a power law ruling all the industry, and the people in the long tail, millions of them, like we say 8 million musicians, they basically get very small portion from a small portion of distribution. So their basic income cannot be assured. That's why we built upon that, to ensure them get the highest rate in the industry today. That's why we peg to, if we're not pegging to US dollars, it's actually just evaluated by US dollars. It's higher than US dollars 2 cents.
Right. Okay. And so one of the interesting things about when UBI was implemented is you changed the system from just straight mining of music coins, when the miners would do it, to where the miners were setting aside a portion of their mining to pay for the listeners playing the music, so that people now, that anyone in the world could listen to music for free.
Yep.
Right. And so then the criticism at that point, as I remember, is, and it goes back to like the accusations that UBI was like this socialist plot to take over cryptocurrency, was that the criticism was these people are playing for free. And how is that sustainable?
Yep.
And so what's your answer to that? What is, what are you going to do about these freeloaders playing for free?
I would say that, let's try not to label it to any ideological thing first. But when we understand UBI, everyone knows that the miners actually contribute a portion of mined coins into UBI scheme, right? The pool. And the UBI scheme pay to, based on PPP, pay to musicians. But it's actually, the activity is not like we give money to people without any social contracts. The contracts is based on how musicians' songs get played by players, by listeners. So the listeners actually contribute to this social contract. It trigger, when they listen a song, it triggered this pay-per-play action being executed. So actually, we regard this UBI design not only simply like distributing money. It's not that simple. It's actually trigger a layer of activities. Oh, I'm sorry, low battery. No, don't do that. Okay, so we don't want to stop, guys. So
they're going to kick us out of Kinko's here any second, so we got to roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
So actually, from the bottom, the miners contribute surely to this portion of a pool. Then musicians share their content, right? And then the listeners trigger the money to be paid to musicians. It's actually a lot of efforts happened during this little single transaction.
So what you're saying is that when a listener decides what he's going to play and he goes about playing it and he talks to other people about what he's playing and he decides, or he or she decides, what they're going to listen to, that essentially that action and just hitting the mouse button or your touch screen, that's a proof of work in its own way.
Exactly. It's a kind of work. We can
like
name
the miners are doing quote unquote proof of work.
Exactly.
But you're saying that like when people are playing, that's kind of like proof of
it's a part of this
It's like a proof of work, but
it is a proof of work. I can prove you as well.
It's more like a proof of play, maybe.
Good point. That's a good term, we didn't even think much about that today because we have think about the proof of sharing layer, which musicians, when they share, they should get part of the recognition from the system. That's why we have the roadmap to call proof of sharing. We're going to put into design. But no, it's good. It's a great point. We can put the listener's work into the system design consideration.
But is it really fair? I mean, listening to music is not. It's an action. I guess you could say it's work.
Actually, it's already being mentioned in the economic theory as well. It means that consumers' behaviors is part of the production. It's not only from like a pipeline that somebody create and produce and then somebody consume and it's end. It's not. Today's world is actually very much an ecosystem. So what we want to do, the UBI thing, is very profound because it's not only consider listeners as slave of, some end of the world,
or some kind of lion consuming music for free.
Not at all. We are not really saying that.
It's not saying our listeners are pirates.
No, they're not. They're not. They actually contribute a lot of intelligence and efforts. Of course,
They are the intelligence in the system.
Exactly. That's what we really want to do, and we want to implement and realize this whole ecosystem and put the Musicoin as a real booster to the music industry and eventually enlarge it. UBI is not trying to decrease people's income. It's trying to enlarge and multiply people's income to 5 to 30 times of the current industry, to $30 billion to $100 billion scale.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
That's what UBI is about. Is there anything else?
Yeah, we wish everyone, in our community definitely, contribute and work together with us. And you're part of this revolution for sure.
All right. This is the Deadly Buda signing off for the Hard Data with Isaac Mao.
This is Isaac Mao, and this is Deadly Buda. We are in Berkeley today.
Yes, we want to thank the Berkeley Kinkos for letting us basically loiter here. But we'll buy some pens or something before we leave, I swear. So
okay, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.